Good day and welcome to our roundtable on vaccine here at Building the Future, where technology, leadership and education meet to empower people and organizations. So we have three esteemed experts and we are going to discuss delivery, opportunities and challenges around the COVID-19 vaccination. First of all, let me introduce our speakers. Filipa Mota e Costa, she is Managing Director at Janssen in Portugal, Janssen Pharmaceutical, part of Johnson & Johnson. Welcome, Filipa. We have Dr. Luis Goes Pinheiro, who is the President of SPMS. Welcome, Dr. Luis. And we have Professor Pedro Simas, who is a virologist and professor at the Institute of Molecular Medicine at the University of Lisbon. Three wonderful voices. We are gonna discuss with them lessons learned, challenges, opportunities, the role of partnership and the role of technology in the current vaccination. I have the pleasure to moderate the session. My name is Elena Bonfiglioli, and I'm the Managing Director and Regional Business Lead for Healthcare and Life Sciences at Microsoft, covering the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region. So with this esteemed panel, let me just set the scene for the session, because we are in the beginning of the vaccination for the COVID-19, so in a moment in which in many countries there has been the approval of the vaccines, and also on the one side there has been a lot of lessons learned reflecting on the challenges related both to the distribution, to the administration of the vaccines, and some of the challenges are similar to other vaccination campaigns. Some other challenges are unique. If you think, for example, to the fair allocation, to the prioritization, the phased eligibility, registration, tracking of multi-dose vaccination, tracking adverse reaction at population level, how to manage part of the scale and velocity of the vaccination. So here is where I turn to the speakers to get their perspective. First of all, let's start with Dr. Luis. From an SPMS standpoint, there has been, of course, national task force on how to handle the vaccination, and which was announced on November 26th, and 1 week later, the vaccination plan emerged. What's your take and what are the lessons learned?
Well, this vaccination process, as we all know, intends to vaccinate around 10 million people, the entire Portuguese population. At least it's the intention that we have behind this program. And as we all know, at least with the vaccines that we already have in operating, everybody needs to be vaccinated twice. So we're talking about more or less over 20 million administrations of vaccines in a few months. So this alone represents, as we all can imagine, a huge logistical challenge that we need to face and to deal with. And besides that, we also know that at least the first vaccines that we have already ready in place are vaccines that represents another added challenge. Because the conditions, the temperature which they must be kept conserved are very low. So it's not like we have the conditions in order to preserve them everywhere in the country. So we need to it was necessary to put in place a huge logistical operation in order to guarantee that at least when we have a lot of vaccines in the market, by now we know that we still have a lot of lack of vaccines, but when we have them all available in order to vaccinate the entire population, is our of course everybody wants to get vaccinated in the minimum time possible. So I think that the lessons that we learned through the short term of this operation is that governance is probably the first key answer to the problem. And the task force, as you said, it came exactly in order to guarantee that we have a body with strategical with a strategical approach that coordinates the vaccination strategy in order to guarantee there's all these loose dots that are, of course, in an operation like this necessary. They are all tied together and guarantee the delivery of the vaccination to the entire country. We're talking about bodies from the Ministry of Defense, Home Affairs, almost the entire Ministry of Health altogether, the NHS. So it's the intelligence services. So it was really necessary to guarantee that there was a coordination body that allowed to govern the governance of all these bodies together. And it's been working to support this task force. People, I'm not sure that everyone knows, there's a situation room where during the entire day the representatives from these bodies, these entities, are sitting there, changing information, dealing with the small incidents that, of course, in an operation like this happens daily, and trying to solve them immediately with this coordinated approach. Besides that, it's very important that at least the coordination body of the task force meets regularly at the highest political level in order to guarantee that even the entities that are not inside the coordination of this task force are all at the same page and all working with the same will and with the same information. Besides governance, I think it was really important to have simplicity in the approach. The truth is that for instance, the information systems that we are using are exactly the ones that have already proved in the past, because it's our vaccination information system. So the approach was not to develop a new one, was to use what we already have in order to guarantee that something that already proved working in the past, it's something that we are going to use in the present. And for us, this is only another vaccine. And in what concerns the IT approach, and besides the IT approach, it's also very important to stress that the major agents of this vaccination process are going to be the primary care units. And that's very important as well, because they are the ones that already vaccinate several million people every year. So they are so used to do this that for them the major complexity is the number of people they are going to need to vaccinate in a short period of time. And to end, I think it's very important also to speak about communication, because when we are talking to 10 million people, it's a wrong word can generate anxiety, can generate misunderstandings, and it's very important that communication is very sharp and acts exactly in the opposite way in order to take anxiety from population, to inform exactly what you need to inform the population. And in order to do that, we develop a website where they can simulate with their own information the expected time of their own vaccine administration, and that proved to help a lot. By now we have more than 3 million simulations, so it's something that people are really going after, and it's very useful because it's at the end of the day we realize that people they have the information they need, they are quiet, they are with less anxiety, and so it's working.
Thank you. Thanks for the comprehensive overview, not only of the the challenges and how you've been governing at fast speed in just a matter of few weeks, bringing the plan together. Let's shift to the scientific view, Professor Pedro. How do you look at challenges, opportunities, and lessons learned?
Okay, good morning to everybody. I think as a scientist, this is a wonderful moment to be and live. We had this formidable challenge of producing a vaccine, a safe vaccine, in due time for this pandemic. We are at a very critical stage all over the world. We are at a stage of great exponential growth of the dissemination of this virus, new infections. But it doesn't matter if scientists and science produce the best vaccine ever if you cannot deliver the vaccine. And so the problem of these of the vaccine now and the pandemic now, and the problem of the pandemic has been the high-risk groups. So unfortunately, this virus in certain people, it produces a very severe disease that leads to death. Those high-risk groups, fortunately, are very well identified. But the challenge now for me in terms of vaccination is going to be identifying these groups, because vaccines are not available as such to vaccinate everybody from the age of 65 upwards. So we need to be very intelligent in the way we vaccinate. I can give you the example of Portugal. Portugal has got a very good and intelligent plan of vaccination with 3 phases. And the challenge there is going to be in the first phase and the second phase, really identify, especially in the first phase, identify and bring to vaccination all those high-risk groups, because those are the ones we want to protect as quickly as possible. And we know from the science that these vaccines are wonderful, and they have exceeded all our expectations in terms of protecting against severe disease. So they really are a magic bullet, if you forgive me the expression. So I'm very hopeful. I'm not so worried about the cold chain and the way these vaccines have to be kept in the cold, because as Luis just said, simplicity is the winning formula, and we as scientists try to simplify problems. And we have dry ice and we have polystyrene boxes, and we send viruses and cells all over the world for several days in such a simple thing as a plastic box and dry ice. So I don't think that will be a major problem, but I hope and I trust the institutions in Portugal that they will do their best to cover as quickly as possible the high-risk groups.
Thank you very much, Professor Pedro, and it is very good, because a few months back, I think it was in the summer actually, World Economic Forum had mentioned that the challenges around logistics and cold chain were really the challenges of a lifetime, right? So it's good to see how fast organizations have been working together, and we have solved that piece and part. When we look at discovery to delivery, Philippa, the role of pharmaceutical organizations, how do you look at challenges and lessons learned?
Well, indeed, I would just like to start with this. The greatest challenge that, is currently a great achievement is that, we need to remember that less than 12 months from starting the pandemic, we, humankind, are coming up with a fully developed vaccine, and not just one, but several vaccines. So currently we have 2 approved vaccines, but fortunately we will have more than these 2, and different conditions, not just a cold or just 1 dose coming up with vaccines. So it's very good news for all of us, for humanity, that scientists and a lot of scientific effort came up with these vaccines in such a short time. So, and this is the result of great science for sure, but not just, it was not the result of science developed during this year. It's the result of accumulated knowledge, of accumulated science from other infectious diseases and other technologies that were tested for other diseases that proved efficacy in this with this virus. So, I mean, this is a great achievement for us as humankind, I would say, because it's clearly the result of a lot of collaboration. A lot of collaboration, a huge amount of resources dedicated to this endeavor during the year. And when I say resources, certainly financial resources, but not just financial. I mean, there's so many people across the globe who worked tirelessly, around the clock to come up with the vaccine in due time. And so, and focus, a lot of focus. And certainly we need to acknowledge that other diseases, other patients were somehow left to a second priority, because people needed to dedicate their full attention to the development of the vaccine. So acknowledging this, it was the effort of great science, great, huge, never seen level of collaboration across pharma industry, biotech, academia, authorities, and now for the deployment in the population, a huge level of collaboration with governments and health authorities in each country. So I would say it's a huge, I honestly, it's a never seen level of collaboration from, the level of discovery, where technology and science played a huge role, but also now to the logistics, authorities in the countries. And certainly, there was in terms of production as well, there will be lessons learned for the future, because not just in development, but also, production started at risk. I mean, in order to have vaccines available to be used by the populations right after its approval by the authorities, production started before the clinical trials results were known. So there was some risk taken here, and it was a joint risk. So it was an effort taken in collaboration with authorities and across the world. And it proved this level of collaboration, trust, proved a wise move. So, I mean, we also need to look at this situation with a lot of hope, because there are a lot of positive messages and lessons learned to be taken.
Thank you. In the spirit of time, actually, I'm going to try to combine two questions that I had for you. One was around technology as an enabler, and the other one was around partnerships as essential drivers. So partnerships and technology, as you just said, Philippa, really unprecedented progress, unprecedented challenges, but also unprecedented collaboration, given the scale and complexity, where no single government or organization really could solve this vaccination distribution procurement challenge on its own. We have seen the creation of strategic alliances, ecosystems, pre-procurement, but we've also seen data and AI, cloud solutions, technology solutions overall being especially important, even if in the background, in providing logistics, distribution support, and also the insights to enable public health organizations, governments to make informed decisions, to help in visualization of progress, more and more coming up for adverse event tracking and also visualization of immunization. So there is a lot at stake, where technology becomes yet another partner to the table, and we were, from a Microsoft perspective, actually, we've been extremely busy with the goal to enable both fair, equitable, and efficient distribution of the COVID-19 vaccines, working with many organizations across pharma, logistics, and public health authorities. So back to the panel in terms of, and you choose which element to respond to. Is it the technology as an enabler and the partnership as an essential? I would really welcome a couple of comments, starting again with Dr. Luis.
Thank you. Of course, technology has been a huge enabler of all this, especially in what concerns logistics, because it's the part that I'm more familiar with, because we're not a part in the investigation process in order to develop a vaccine, but in what concerns the administration of the vaccine and the logistics involved in delivering it all over the country, we are pretty much involved. So, as I said before, in what concerns administration and registering the administration, which is, in this case is particularly important because as we have several vaccines and we have different doses, at least usually two doses. So we need to be sure that if someone gets, for instance, the Pfizer vaccine as a first doses, they need to get another Pfizer vaccine as a second dose. So it's quite important to have a system that allows wherever you are in the country to get access to that information and be sure that you are administering exactly the right vaccine to the right person. So, and we are using Vaccination, which is a system that we already had, as I said before. It's our system. It's a system that we use to register every vaccination here in Portugal. So the difference is that, of course, we put some effort in order to guarantee that the performance is better, to guarantee that we are expecting a lot of demand, of course, especially in the upcoming months. So we are very, very much engaged in what concerns guaranteeing the performance of this system, but with the same system that we had before. Besides that, it's very important with a new vaccine, and these vaccines are new, to be very attentive in what concerns side effects of these vaccines. And it's really quite important to guarantee that if there's something important happening in the administration of this kind of vaccines, this information goes fast to where it's supposed to be. So we are working with Infarmed, which is our national authority for pharmaceutical products and other medical devices. And it's quite important that this linkage, as you said, partnership, using technology as an enabler, in order to guarantee that this information goes fast from the doctor to the center that manages all this information. And
thank you.
Just to
Yes.
end, besides that, we also have our National Institute, Ricard George, that needs information in order to measure the effectiveness of the vaccination process. So again, technology has a huge part in this, in putting all these parts together and allowing the information to flow all over these entities that need them for different purposes.
Thank you. Seamless enabler from a technology standpoint. Maybe Philippa, partnerships. You mentioned that in your comments. So other perspectives.
And partnerships have been key across the whole process. So from development, discovery and development. And here, I mean, adding on the comment for technology, technology played a key role to accelerate all, the whole process of the vaccine development. Just remember that from day one or the early days of the pandemic to genome sequencing, it was just a few weeks. I mean, that's due to amazing science and technology. And from then on, to selecting vaccine candidates, it was also a question of a few weeks or a few months. And this period of time was pretty much accelerated due as well to technology, artificial intelligence, algorithms, and so on. So technology played a key role in all this development acceleration. In terms of partnerships, and certainly the databases across the whole processes are critical. In terms of collaborations, as I said, in the development, collaboration with big pharma, biotech, academia was key across. I mean, all the vaccines that we are currently talking about, they all have this in common. The production as well. I mean, I'm here representing Janssen & Johnson. I mean, it's the biggest healthcare company in the world, and not even such a large company had the capability to produce vaccines in such a large scale. So partnerships with several entities across the globe have been key in order that we are able to deploy the amount of vaccines needed in this 2021. I mean, we're setting for 1 billion. Pfizer is also setting for this amount level, so it's huge, and partnerships were needed. And then, as I said before, the partnerships with the regulatory entities. I mean, it's not just a word partnership. We are doing a different review processing. So in order for the approval is so fast, I mean, we inaugurated somehow a new level of approval. So in the past, we would have all the data, and then regulatory agencies would start the evaluation, and that would take the minimum a few months. What we're doing now is that as soon as we have the data, there is a rolling review, as it is called, that European agencies and the same with American agencies are doing, is that we are basically at par. As soon as we have the data, we are submitting the data to the regulatory agencies, and that speeds up the whole process. And then for sure the acquisition, the procurement model, and deployment in the countries. None of this would be possible without collaboration. And there is a key concept for collaboration, is that trusted partners. And I think that's also a key lesson for this pandemic. We need to trust more each other. We need to engage, in honest conversations across the whole system. But I mean, this is a very good example that when we unite for a common goal, and I think as humanity, we never have such a clear one goal, we are able to achieve greatness as we are in this case. So trust and collaboration have been key.
And with this trust also, despite the velocity of the approval process, population can trust this vaccine. This is a very important message. It's not that by going faster,
absolutely,
anything has been skipped.
Yeah, absolutely, no shortcuts were taken in this whole process. The difference is that planning, collaborating, and doing some things at risk, starting to do some things and not just waiting for the sequence of all the steps. I mean, new methods were developed, but no shortcuts were taken. And the knowledge that we have for the vaccines development are the best that we can for the moment.
And there is no better point on knowledge and excellence of scientific collaboration, to go back to Professor Pedro. Your reflections, is it on technology, is it on partnership, is it on how you see the world going forward?
Okay, I think humanity is characterized not by its strength, it's characterized by its intelligence and morality. And what drives technology is basic knowledge, basic science. And this is a wonderful example how basic knowledge and science is the basis of the pyramid of a society. Multinationals and technology would not be possible without academic science, academic discovery. Take the discovery of DNA, take the discovery of take the discovery of PCR, take the discovery of sequencing. Very quickly, when I was a student in Cambridge University in the 90s as a PhD student, it took me 6 months to sequence one single gene. It took us a few days to sequence the whole genome of coronavirus. It took us a few days based on the knowledge that we had previously from 80 years or 100 years of immunology and virology to devise almost all the vaccine projects in the world that are currently being developed. So we had that knowledge. It was very quickly you could implement a diagnostic tool like PCR, RT-PCR, reverse transcription, again, another Nobel Prize winning discovery, PCR, another Nobel Prize winning discovery, just basic science. When these people were doing this research, why are you doing that? What's the application of that? And now you see it. And we had a test that could be implemented all over the world to monitor this pandemic. So I think it's amazing to see this. I think it's very important for public understanding of science, so they don't question why governments and private institutions and corporate industries should put money into science without questioning it, okay? Giving it to that diversity of the human beings to generate knowledge that is sometimes so useful. The other thing is that, as my take-home message, is in terms of vaccinations, nature sometimes takes care of our problems, and the vaccines are the magic bullet to protect the high-risk groups. But we will not depend on vaccines forever, like we are depending on vaccines for other diseases, because as we know from the other coronaviruses that exist already in the human population, there are already 4. It looks as though from all the scientific evidence so far, the way this SARS-CoV-2 behaves is just going to be the 5th endemic coronavirus in the human population. So the vaccines will be very important to resolve the pandemic, but after that, we won't depend on the vaccine, and you don't need to be scared that SARS-CoV-2 will come back and put our day-to-day life in danger. So I think it's the normal process of reinfection, getting colds every year, that will maintain the immunity at the population level. So the prospects are very bright. So we like them.
Thank you. It's a very, very strong message from Philippa's point on no shortcuts and great trust to no dependency, and also the beautiful point on human ingenuity. Thank you very much. Back to SPMS, maybe just for a very short closing remarks, hopefully with an encouraging and positive tone of where we're going.
Well, I think my final word would be hope. I think we need to have hope. We are passing through very difficult times. We all know that. But at the same time, we are seeing that the humanity are creating the tools in order to overcome these difficult times. So we need to have hope, to stay together as we have been in the past year, and to look at the future that for sure is going to be brighter than these times that we are having.
With that, I thank Philippa, Dr. Luis, Pedro. I mean, thank you for a wonderful exchange. From the Microsoft standpoint, we were grateful to be able to host you and to collaborate and support a challenge of a lifetime, which is the vaccination for COVID, but also with collaborations and partnerships, which is all about human ingenuity. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.